Welcome, everyone. Today we will explore the interesting life story of a man who changed history in a very big way. His name is Christopher Columbus. Many people around the world know his name, but not everyone knows his full story. In this lesson, we will learn about his life in a simple and easy way, so English learners can understand everything clearly. Christopher Columbus was an explorer. An explorer is a person who travels to new places to learn more about the world. Columbus lived more than 500 years ago, at a time when people did not know much about the Earth. They did not have airplanes, satellites, or maps like we have today. Many places on the world map were empty, and people were curious about what was on the other side of the ocean. Columbus was one of those curious people. He had a strong dream. He wanted to find a new sea route to Asia, especially India and China, because those places were famous for spices, silk, and gold. People in Europe wanted these things, but traveling to Asia by land was long and dangerous. Columbus believed that traveling west across the Atlantic Ocean would be a faster way. Most people thought he was wrong. Some even thought it was crazy. But Columbus believed in his idea, and he never gave up. In this series, we will follow his life step by step. We will look at his early childhood, his dreams, his struggles, his famous voyage in 1492, and what happened after he reached the Americas. Everything will be divided into clear and simple parts so you can enjoy the story and improve your English at the same time. Before we start, please subscribe the channel and like the video. Now, let's begin. Christopher Columbus was born in the year 1451 in the city of Genoa in Italy. At that time, Genoa was a busy port city. Many ships came in and out every day, carrying goods like wood, food, and cloth. Because Columbus grew up near the sea, he saw sailors, ships, and the ocean from a very young age. This environment helped shape his dreams and imagination. Columbus came from a simple family. His father was a wool weaver, a person who made cloth from wool. His mother worked at home and took care of the family. They were not rich, but they worked hard. Columbus helped his father in the family business, but his heart was not in it. He was more interested in the sea. When he heard stories from sailors about faraway lands, dangerous storms, and mysterious islands, he felt excited. Inside his mind, something told him that he wanted to explore the unknown world. As a teenager, Columbus spent less time in the workshop and more time near the docks. He listened to sailors talk about places they had visited. He learned about navigation, which is the skill of guiding a ship across the ocean. He also learned how to read maps, use the stars for direction, and understand ocean currents. These skills were not easy, but Columbus paid attention and practiced because he loved learning about the sea. When he was around 14 years old, Columbus made a bold decision. He joined a ship crew. This was a brave step because life at sea was very difficult. The ocean was dangerous. Weather could change quickly. Food and water were often limited. But Columbus accepted all these challenges because he wanted to discover more about the world. During his early voyages, Columbus traveled to different parts of the Mediterranean Sea. He saw new cultures and languages. He learned how to survive storms, how to work with a crew, and how to stay calm during tough situations. These early experiences made him stronger and more confident. As he grew older, Columbus became more serious about becoming an explorer. He studied books written by older travelers and scientists.
Many books at that time said that the Earth was round, but people did not know its real size. Columbus believed that Asia was much closer to Europe if someone traveled west. This idea started to grow in his mind like a seed. He felt that one day he could find a new route to Asia. Even though he came from a poor family, Columbus was not afraid to dream big. He told himself that he would not spend his life only weaving cloth. He wanted something greater. He believed that the ocean held answers, adventures, and opportunities.
As Christopher Columbus grew older, his dream became stronger. He believed that he could reach Asia by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. Most sailors and mapmakers thought this idea was impossible. They believed the ocean was too big, too dangerous, and too unknown. Many people even laughed at Columbus. But he refused to give up. He trusted his idea, even when others doubted him. Columbus needed ships, money, food, and a crew for such a long journey. He could not get these things alone. He needed support from a king or queen. So he began traveling around Europe to ask for help. His first stop was Portugal. Portugal was famous for exploration at that time. Portuguese sailors were discovering new sea routes around Africa. Columbus thought the king of Portugal would like his idea. But after listening to Columbus, the king said no. He believed Columbus was wrong about the size of the earth. This rejection did not stop Columbus. He moved to Spain and tried again. He met many important people and explained his plan again and again. He said that if he reached Asia by sailing west, Spain would become powerful and rich. At first, the Spanish officials also said no. They thought Columbus was too ambitious and that his calculations were risky. Still, Columbus did not lose hope. He stayed in Spain for several years, waiting for another chance. During this time, he lived in poverty. Sometimes he had no money for food. But he continued writing letters, meeting nobles, and talking about his dream. His strong determination impressed some people, including a group of priests and scholars who believed in him. They helped him reach Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. Columbus explained his plan to them with passion. He told them that the journey would bring glory, wealth, and new trade routes for Spain. The queen was interested but unsure. She asked experts for advice, and they also said no. Columbus was disappointed, but once again he did not give up. He stayed patient and kept trying. Finally, in 1492, something changed. Spain had just won an important war and was ready to take new risks. Queen Isabella decided to support Columbus after all. She believed that his bravery and confidence might bring great success to Spain. She agreed to give him 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. This moment was the turning point in Columbus's life. After years of rejection, hunger, and struggle, he finally received the support he needed. He was excited, nervous, and full of hope. His dream was no longer just an idea, it was becoming real. Now Columbus was ready to begin the journey that would change history forever.
In the year 1492, Christopher Columbus finally began the journey he had dreamed about for many years. He had 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The sailors on these ships came from different backgrounds. Some were experienced, but others joined only because they needed money. Many of them were afraid. They had never traveled far into the open ocean, and they did not know what they would face. But Columbus encouraged them and promised that great rewards were waiting. On August 3, 1492, the 3 ships left Spain and sailed west into the Atlantic Ocean. At first, the journey felt easy. The sea was calm and the weather was good.
But after a few days, the land disappeared behind them. All they could see was endless water. This was new for many sailors, and fear slowly began to grow. Days turned into weeks. Every morning, Columbus encouraged his crew by telling them they were getting closer. He studied the sky, the waves, and the birds. He believed these signs would help him find land. But the journey felt very long. Food and water were limited. The sailors missed their homes. Some started to complain. They said the ocean had no end. Some even thought they would fall off the edge of the world. The biggest problem was fear. After more than a month at sea, the sailors told Columbus they wanted to turn back. They said it was too dangerous and too unknown. Many believed they would never return to Spain alive. But Columbus stayed calm. He told the crew that turning back would mean losing everything. He reminded them of the rewards, the gold, and the glory that waited ahead. He also carefully kept 2 records of distance, one true record for himself and a shorter one for the crew, so they would feel less scared. This strategy helped control the panic. Then, in early October, something changed. The crew began to see small signs of land. They saw pieces of plants floating on the water. They saw birds flying from the west, which meant there must be land nearby. Excitement started to replace fear. Finally, on the night of October 11th, a sailor on the Pinta saw something in the distance. It was a faint light. Early the next morning, on October 12, 1492, the ships reached land. The crew shouted with joy. Some cried because they felt they had been saved. Columbus stepped onto the island with pride. He thought he had reached Asia, but he was actually in the Americas, on an island in the Caribbean. Still, this moment was historic. Columbus had crossed the Atlantic and reached a new world that Europeans did not know existed. His long journey, full of fear and hope, had finally succeeded.
When Christopher Columbus stepped onto the new land on October 12, 1492, he felt proud. He believed he had reached Asia, near India. That is why he called the local people Indians. But in reality, he had reached an island in the Caribbean, far from Asia. The people living there were the Taíno, a peaceful group who had their own culture, language, and way of life. At first, the meeting between Columbus and the Taíno people was calm and friendly. The Taíno were surprised to see the large European ships, the metal tools, and the clothes the sailors wore. They welcomed Columbus and his men with curiosity. They brought food, such as fruits, fish, and cassava bread. They also gave small gifts like parrots, cotton, and handmade items. Columbus was impressed by the Taíno. He wrote that they were kind, generous, and had good hearts. But he also noticed that they did not have weapons like swords or metal armor. He believed this made them weak. Instead of seeing them as equals, he thought they could be controlled easily. This thinking would later cause many problems. Columbus continued exploring the islands around the Caribbean. He visited places we know today as Cuba and Hispaniola. Everywhere he went, he met more Taíno communities. The people welcomed him, helped him, and shared what they had. They showed him how they lived, how they farmed, and how they fished. But Columbus had another goal in mind. He wanted gold. He believed that Asia was full of gold and valuable items. When he saw small pieces of gold jewelry on some Taíno people, he became excited. He asked them where the gold came from. The Taíno pointed toward different parts of the islands. This made Columbus think he was close to a wealthy land. While exploring Hispaniola, Columbus decided to leave some of his men behind to build a small settlement. He used the wood from the Santa Maria, which had crashed on the shore. This place became the first European settlement in the Americas. Columbus believed it would become the base for future explorations and trade. However, not everything was peaceful. Some of Columbus's men treated the Taino people badly. They demanded food, gold, and labor. The Taino did not understand why these strangers were becoming aggressive and demanding. Tension slowly began to grow. Even with these problems, Columbus felt his mission was successful. He believed he had found the edges of Asia. After months of exploration, he prepared to return to Spain and share the news. He took some Taino people with him so the Spanish king and queen could see them. He also collected items like gold pieces, plants, and parrots. In early 1493, Columbus sailed back across the Atlantic. He was ready to show Europe his discoveries. He did not know that his arrival in the Americas would change the history of the world forever.
When Christopher Columbus returned to Spain in 1493, he was welcomed like a hero. Many people gathered to see him, his crew, and the items he brought back from the new land. The Spanish king and queen were excited to hear his story. Columbus told them about the islands he discovered, the people he met, and the small pieces of gold he had seen. He believed he had reached the edges of Asia, and the king and queen believed him. Spain celebrated his success. Columbus became famous overnight. He was given money, titles, and the promise of more support. The king and queen wanted him to return to the new land as soon as possible. They wanted more information, more gold, and more opportunities. So not long after his first voyage, Columbus prepared for a second one. This time he had 17 ships and more than 1,000 men. It was a much larger mission. They carried supplies, animals, seeds, tools, and people who wanted to start a life in the New World. Columbus felt confident and proud. He believed he was building a new future for Spain. When Columbus reached the Caribbean again, he expected everything to be peaceful. But he soon discovered something shocking. The small settlement he left behind on Hispaniola was destroyed, and all the men he had left there were dead. The Taino people said the men had behaved badly and fought among themselves. This created tension and mistrust. Columbus decided to build a new settlement. He named it Isabella, after Queen Isabella. But life there was very hard. The settlers struggled with hunger, disease, and conflicts with the Taino people. Many became angry and disappointed. They expected gold and easy success, but life in the New World was difficult and dangerous. Columbus continued exploring the islands, always searching for more gold, but he found only small amounts. Some settlers blamed him for their problems. They said he had promised too much. The situation became worse when some of his men rebelled and sent complaints to Spain. Columbus made a third voyage in 1498 and a fourth voyage in 1502. During these trips, he discovered more parts of the Caribbean and even reached the coastline of Central and South America. He was surprised to find large rivers and strong currents. He still believed he was near Asia, but many sailors and scholars in Spain began to doubt him. They started to think that he had found a completely new world. Over time, Columbus lost some of his power and support. Some officials said he did not manage the colonies well. Others felt he was too strict or made bad decisions. At one point, he was even arrested and sent back to Spain in chains. This was a painful moment for him. Although the king and queen later freed him, Columbus never regained his old position. Still, he continued dreaming of finding a route to Asia until the very end of his life. Christopher Columbus spent the last years of his life feeling both proud and disappointed. He was proud because he had crossed the Atlantic Ocean and discovered lands that Europeans had never seen before.
His voyages opened the door to a new age of exploration. Many countries soon sent their own ships to explore the Americas. But at the same time, Columbus felt disappointed because he never achieved the dream he had in his heart from the beginning. He always wanted to find a route to Asia, and he believed until the end that the lands he found were near Asia. He never understood that he had actually discovered a whole new continent. After his fourth voyage in 1502, Columbus returned to Spain tired, sick, and frustrated. His health was getting worse. His body was weak after spending many years at sea. He had faced storms, hunger, fights, and long journeys. Now he needed rest, but his mind was still full of questions and dreams. Columbus also felt hurt because many people in Spain had turned against him. Some said he did not manage the colonies well. Others said he made promises he could not keep. The Spanish officials removed his titles and most of his power. This was difficult for him because he believed he had served Spain with courage and loyalty. Even with these challenges, Columbus did not stop thinking about new possibilities. He wrote letters explaining his ideas, hoping that the king would support him again. He asked for the titles and rewards he felt he deserved. But Spain was now focused on new explorers and new leaders. Columbus was no longer the center of attention. In May 1506, Christopher Columbus passed away at the age of about 55 in Valladolid, Spain. He died still believing he had reached the edges of Asia. He never knew how large the American continents were, or how much they would change the future of the world. His death was quiet, without big celebrations. Only his family and a few friends were with him. Although his final years were difficult, Columbus's impact on history was huge. His voyages connected Europe with the Americas and started the period of exploration and colonization. This brought many changes. New cultures met, new goods were exchanged, and the world map was rewritten. But it also brought suffering to many native peoples who faced disease, violence, and loss of their lands. Columbus's story is complex. Some people admire him for his courage, and others criticize him for the negative effects of his actions. Today, his name is known almost everywhere. Schools, streets, countries, and cities talk about his journeys. Whether people see him as a hero or not, one thing is sure. His voyages changed the world in a powerful and unforgettable way. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. Today, we explored the life of Christopher Columbus step by step. We followed his early dreams, his long struggles, his brave voyages across the Atlantic, and the great changes his discoveries brought to the world. His life teaches us that strong belief and hard work can create big changes, but they can also bring responsibilities and consequences. It is a story full of courage, mistakes, new ideas, and powerful lessons. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new today, I invite you to support the channel. Your support helps us create more simple and easy stories for English learners around the world. Please make sure to like this video because it tells YouTube that you enjoyed the content. Please leave a comment, even a short one, and tell me what you learned or what story you want next. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new story. We upload new videos regularly to help you grow your English skills through storytelling. Thank you again for watching. See you in the next lesson.